And how have you helped people with weight issues? Either bulimic
Well, yeah, that's interesting too, because you can't get babies to overeat. Babies come onto the planet with a belief that goes, food's always there, have it later. I mean, in the womb, they don't wait to eat. And when they're born, you feed them whenever they're hungry. So babies leave food. They don't have any concept of good, bad, naughty. But then, of course, you get people that make you eat horrible food and won't allow you to eat nice food. And then the brain has the belief, which is, I can't have what I want, I've got to have what I don't want. So when you have a diet that says every time you want a cake, eat an apple, you think, well, I don't want an apple. I'm going to eat 4 cakes now just because I can't have them. So again, I give people back that belief that food will always be available. You've got 60 years to go on eating. You'll always have another day to eat. And I had a lot of issues with food. You know, being an exercise instructor in LA, you would, because you've got to be really thin. And actually saying to myself, I will always have another day to eat, I have to say that actually changed my life, because I could, instead of thinking, oh my God, that's my favourite, oh my God, I love that, I think, yeah, but I've got 60 years to eat it. I'll have it tomorrow, I'll have it next week, I'll have it when I'm 85. And it took away that need to think, I've got to have it because it's there, or it's free, or it's available. So again, a lot of it is giving people back the innate normality about food that they were born with. And then also it's a lot of teaching them. For instance, you only eat something if the picture in your head is right. So if someone spat all over your food or sneezed on it, you couldn't eat it, could you? Even if you want it. If someone bled all over your lunch, you're not going to eat it. I'm going to put the blood to one side and eat it. But you see, food companies know that you eat if the picture is right, which is why they call the rubbish food in the world Happy Meals and Fun Size and Farm Fresh, Barn Enriched, Swiss chocolate. If they called it Afghanistan chocolate, you wouldn't eat it. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I get people to make the picture wrong for wrong food and right for right food. And then there's no issue, there's no fighting. You just give it names that make you not want it. So if you call jellies boiled up cow's feet, which they are, they kind of lose their appeal. If you call fizzy drinks osteoporosis in a can, it sort of loses its appeal. So when people have got really particular addictions to food, I take that away, mentally and physically, by giving it different names. But also, you need to convince the brain that you don't want it. It's the same thing. Your body would never go, yeah, fill me up with chemicals, boiled up cow's feet and masses of sugar, that's what I want. But the mind does get very high on those chemicals. And of course, the mind thinks you want them. You know, no one says, oh, I'm so depressed, I'm going to grill a bit of trout now and wilt a bit of spinach. They go, I'm so depressed, I need chocolate cakes, biscuits, toast, all the stuff you got as a baby that made you happy. But it's infant food, so you convince the mind that the body doesn't want it. And if the mind doesn't want it either, then you've cracked it. So that's what I do. I get both the mind and body to not want it at all.
I think the turning point for me, in fact, I know the turning point for me, I'd hit 27 stone in weight. And I had to get myself back into some form of fitness. I'm now about 15 and a half, 16 stone. So I've lost 11 stone. I've lost nearly half my body weight. It's amazing how depression can leave you in a very dark place where you don't care. So the reinvention came when I got it into my mind and psyched myself up that I had to change. Otherwise I would die. Because during that dark period in about 2005 to 2008, I'd had 2 near heart attacks, suspected prostate cancer, and even skin cancer. I had to have a growth removed from my nose. And I think that's the body giving up. Mm. And once the body gives up, then all kind of terrible things can happen to you. But if the mind gives up, then you're in much more serious trouble. Mm. And it was about getting my mindset right to be able to get everything else right. Mm. And that's what I did. You've got to want to do something. If you don't really believe it or believe in yourself, then you won't do it. And January the 5th, 2009, I woke up one day and I couldn't walk. I was on a stick. And I thought, I've got to change myself. And that's what I did.
Well, we've been discussing that a few times with several people that I've interviewed. Is about basically about inspiration and about inspiring people. But it really is down to limiting beliefs, isn't it? I mean, if you don't think that you can actually achieve something or you can't actually
do it,
you'll never do it.
You see, During the dark period that I was in, having lost both my grandmothers in a very short space of time, and my grandmothers were extremely important to me, and still remain very important to me. I needed to help others. That was one thing I needed to do. And because of my background in showbiz, I actually set up a drama school. Actually, it was an academy of showbiz, it's now called, since Strictly. But I was helping people who are illiterate to actually perform at Dylan Thomas's Under Milkwood by teaching them orally. I had kids with autism, Asperger's syndrome, and we put on in the beautiful Port Merion in North Wales in Snowdonia, Under Milkwood by Dylan Thomas. And then for the royal wedding between William and Kate, I put on A Midsummer Night's Dream, which I directed, and used all the people from the community. And that was a wonderful sense of achievement, was watching other people achieve what they never thought they could do. So my sense of achievement came through the accomplishment of others. People who were living in a town called Blaenau-Festiniog in North Wales, which is one of the poorest towns in the Principality, possibly in Britain. And a lot of people there, needed to do things with their lives. And so we had an influx of a lot of people, young and old, who came from Blaenau. And I was teaching them, how to perform. And then to see them in this beautiful place, Port Merion. And there were queues around the block. We did 9 performances. On the 9th day, it was so successful. We had 200 people queuing up, waiting for ticket returns. How wonderful is that for them? How wonderful for me that I was able to give something of myself to inspire them.
Tell me about astrology and your podcast and what you're doing now. Tell me a little bit about that and how you're evolving and moving towards that.
I went on holiday a while back, and I went to the jungle in the Philippines. And I was with a friend, and we went to this luxury retreat in the Philippines. And it was all set up for a fabulous holiday. It was very expensive. Yoga and Pilates every day, lots of treatments. It was raw vegan food, beautiful weather, just a sensational holiday, except I got ill in the middle of the jungle. And I had to fly home early from the Philippines. And that was really just the start of it, because after that, I developed all kinds of really scary symptoms. I had numb patches on my face. I got tested for a stroke and so many different ailments which the doctors could never really find. But I ended up having 3 months off work, 3 months basically in bed. And it was all because of this mystery virus in the Philippines that I'd picked up. And it turns out there are loads of tropical viruses that doctors don't really know what they are. But having had 3 months off, one of my main symptoms was fatigue. I just didn't have the energy to go to work, and I was barely even walking down the street. I spent whole weeks where I just didn't leave the house. And so fatigue became a really important thing for me. And NLP only helped to a certain extent, actually. And I think part of the reason that I didn't really help myself while I was off work for so long was that I think a lot of people who are very type A and very driven and very goal-oriented come to NLP in the first place. But for me, the quest of finding out what was wrong with me became such an obsession that I actually wasn't helping myself. I was spending whole days in fight or flight mode on Google. Why am I not sleeping properly? Why am I so tired? Why can't I walk down the street? Why have I got a numb patch on my face? And of course, actually, that fight or flight mode, when you're in fight or flight mode, your body can't recover. Your sympathetic nervous system is activated and your parasympathetic isn't. And it means your whole body, all the neurons are firing, but your digestion slows down. A lot of the crucial organs slow down, and whatever virus that I had, and it was obviously quite serious, I couldn't allow myself to start to recover. So the journey took me to all the doctors that I saw, by the way, and I saw a neurologist a few times, saw dermatologists, lots of different people who couldn't really give me any answers. And I went to someone who specialises in NLP and EFT, tapping, and fatigue. And within 10 minutes of sitting down and starting to talk to him and talk about my symptoms and why I'd been off for 3 months, he started telling me what had been going on. He said, and you've been feeling like this, and this has been popping into your mind, and that's why you haven't been leaving the house. I burst into tears because everything he was saying was true, you know. His daughter had had chronic fatigue, and his business partner has had chronic fatigue as well. So he specialises in fatigue. But just this experience of working with someone, and he was using tapping all the way through as well. So as he was talking and as I was in floods of tears and not really caring because he obviously knew what he was talking about, he was tapping away on my face and just calming down, and specifically getting me to tap here. That's one of the points, just kind of to the side of the collarbone. Anyone watching this can just, if they're ever feeling anxious, just kind of tap there. So that was a huge part of the journey, and I'm still seeing him now. He's a very wise, intuitive therapist. And he said to me, part of the reason you were drawn to NLP is because you're so driven, but perhaps I needed something to just help me slow down. So I love NLP and I use it every day, but I'm interested in speaking to other people who can give me and us a few answers on living with more energy. So that's where Zestology came from. The more that I learn about diet, nutrition and health, the more I learn about the way that the brain works and how we need to step back from the hectic life that we lead, and the more that I know about hypnosis and altering one's brainwaves so that one can change states, the more I want other people to know about this information. There's so much to get out there. But also, if it's not listened to by millions and millions of people, that's okay as well. Because one of the things I've worked hardest on over the last year or two is to stop and smell the roses and enjoy life, enjoy the journey and accept. I don't think I was very good at that before. I like to control, which probably got me as far as I got. But now a big part for me is accepting, seeing what happens, going with the flow and letting go. So I hope to inspire a lot of people with Zestology and all the other products and books that will inevitably go with it. But if that doesn't happen, it's okay. I'm going with the flow, pretty much.
Now listen, you're definitely helping and inspiring a lot of people, and you already have. So good job, Tony. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bernardo.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And thank you very much for watching Inspiring People.